Hey everyone, what's up? It's Babylonius from peakofserenity.com here with another video discussing the Castle Nathria mythic bosses. This time it's Mythic Lady Inerva Darkvein. She's probably about the fifth, maybe the sixth boss, depending on where you're at and what order, but she's almost certainly the sixth boss. You'll do her after Sun King and Zymox. And this is a very interesting fight for Windwalker because and for a lot of people because it really puts your discipline in terms of putting AoE damage where it needs to go. And really focusing your damage. So this is a fight that's very easy to pad on. It's a fight that's incredibly strong for Windwalkers. But it's also a fight that's very easy to get lost in, watching your meters and not putting damage where you need to do. Functionally, it kind of functions as really a single target fight. There are adds that are out occasionally, but they don't pose a ton of threat. They tend to just be cleaved down. So ideally, you'd set up and focus on single target and stuff like that, and the ads get cleaved down. But Windwalker is a spec that's incredibly strong for helping to cleave those ads down, as we lose very little damage on a single target by pumping out a lot of AoE damage. So looking at talents, you're definitely going to want to use Chi Burst due to the multiple targets. Tiger's List can be very useful. You can help to break people out of roots when they get rooted later in the fight. Fist of the White Tiger or Ascension, largely personal preference, but Fist of the White Tiger is going to be a good default. Energizing Elixir is also a reasonable alternative because of the multitude of targets in this fight. You're going to be using Spinning Crane Kick a bit more, so you can get more use out of Energizing Elixir a little bit easier. So you might find that to be the way to go for you. But personally, I recommend just sticking with Fist of the White Tiger. Good Karma is going to be the go-to. There's not really any need to leg sweep or Ring of Peace things, so Good Karma, just a little bit of extra healing for yourself. There's a lot of magic damage, so Diffuse Magic is a good option. Inner Strength is also reasonable. The problem with Inner Strength is that if you get targeted with the beam and you have to run out and do the little triangle thing, you're likely going to lose your Inner Strength. That's when you're going to be taking a reasonable amount of damage. However, you spend a lot of time using a lot of chi and putting out a lot of damage, so Inner Strength is a very strong option there, but Diffuse Magic is a good default. And here's where you have kind of the last choice. Most people, your default is going to be Dance of Chi-Ji. There's a lot of targets. There's really no reason not to use Dance of Chi-Ji. However, if you really want to focus on single target and pumping out as much damage into Darkvien as possible, Hit Combo is fine. But Dance of Chi-Ji, you're going to be able to, go with this fight having very high stacks of Mark of the Crane for a lot of times. So Dance of Chi-Ji is going to put out a lot of single target damage as well. So I would highly recommend just using Dance of Chi-Ji. As it's definitely going to be a lot more damage overall and should be equal to, if not slightly more damage, single target. In terms of conduits, you're going to be looking at, coordinated offensive, obviously, putting single target damage in. And then, calculated strikes is more damage overall. And really, you can get away with using calculated strikes here as the go-to. You can use Strike with Clarity if you want to focus a little bit more on the single target damage, but using calculated strikes is really going to be a strong choice here as you do a lot of damage to the ads. So let's get into it. This happens to be our second kill. I was not in our first kill. We elected to go with every available immunity that we had. Even though, Windwalker is going to be one of, if not the highest DPS on this boss, we just elected to kind of make it a little bit easier and go with the immunity. So this is technically our second kill, but things go smoothly as well. So here we go. You get started again. You kind of start the fight single target. Ads don't come out for the first 40 seconds or so. Really close to a minute. So you can go through popping all your cooldowns. One of the things that you're going to want to think about before I, see what decision I made when I did this is that you might want to save your second stack of Storm, Earth, and Fire for when the ads come out. If you are in a comp where maybe you don't have a lot of a lot of targets to hit, a lot of people. If you're in a if you're in a comp where there's not a lot of targets to hit because a lot of people immune, then it might not be worth saving Storm, Earth, and Fire for this first one because a lot of them can be immuned, and then you might just be left with just the boss to attack, which loses a little bit of damage because you're not having Storm, Earth, and Fire in your big Zuen and Weapons of Order window. However, if you're in a group where there's not as many immunities, then certainly you can save your Storm, Earth, and Fire if you're going to have a lot of targets to hit. So you see, I elected to save mine here. It should theoretically, if you're looking at kind of the maximum damage, it should be the best choice. If you're looking to rank, certainly you're going to be running with less immunities, or people are going to be using them a little bit less. One of the other things that I'll say, and going back a little bit, is that these bottled anima, Windwalker is incredibly good at getting to them very quickly, as well as you can keep Transcendence on the boss in order to port back. I didn't do that because other people were very good at it in my team, but Windwalker is one of the best at doing so. So you see other people get there, and I didn't have to do it. So you see Concentrated Anima is going to come out. That's when we get the ads. And you'll notice that we didn't get any ads that time. We immuned it. So me having that Storm, Earth, and Fire there lost me damage because we happened to immune all of the choices. So that was a little bit less than ideal, but it is what it is. And that's kind of the risk you have to take in knowing your team and what things you're going to be at. So again, this because there's no ads, it's just single target, focusing the boss down. It's really very simple boss. There's not a lot to go on. If you get targeted with the beams, you got to go do the triangle beam thing. I don't believe I had to do that on this kill, although certainly if it happens, I will explain, how it works. But if I didn't, then, it should be pretty easy to find and look up how it works. So as we get lower, we didn't have to move anywhere because we didn't have any ads that dropped puddles on us. So that kind of dictates where you move the boss. So you'll see we're getting another concentrated anima. The nice thing about this second concentrated anima is that it happens roughly 2 minutes into the fight. So you're going to have all your cooldowns up and available for this again in order to blow up all the ads. We were able to immune one of them. So we only got 2 ads instead of 3. But this is where you're going to want to have Storm, Earth, and Fire up. You're going to want to be getting extra stacks of Mark of the Crane as best you can by manipulating where your Storm, Earth, and Fire targets, your Storm, Earth, and Fire clones go, and putting a lot of damage in. The nice thing about these ads is that you can spam Touch of Death and get a full Touch of Death off of them just about every time. So that's very useful. One of the things that make Windwalker very strong, and because you can just stay here and spam Spinning Crane Kick and, put a ton of damage into targets without really losing very much damage on the boss herself. So you see we're going to move here. You're going to want to stick with the boss, soak the bottled anima where you can. And, we just kind of continue. So here, we're going to get another set of ads. At this point, people start to get rooted. So you can use Tiger's Lust or Freedoms and stuff to unroot them. We got one ad. It was a small ad, and I was assigned to interrupt it. So I'll get this first interrupt here. I elected to hold my Storm, Earth, and Fire so that I would then have a second stack when Zuen is up again. So that's something that you can have depending on when you use your Storm, Earth, and Fires. Had I used Storm, Earth, and Fire before, and used them at the start, I might not have had this, although I think I should have had the option of holding it here. You see Weapons of Order is going to come up. I'm watching the timer for Concentrated Anima, and hoping that this time around we might have, 3 targets in addition to the boss to cleave onto. So we'll see how that goes shortly. But again, this is going to be, it's going to be having your cooldowns. The Concentrated Anima comes out roughly every minute. So here we go. We have all 3. Looks like we get all 3. So we're able to Freedom and Tigers Less people. Sorry, look, we got 2. We immuned one of them. So my team really didn't want me to do a lot of damage. Here I got the beam. Windwalker's very strong at running to the farthest point because of our mobility. But, I certainly lost a big chunk of damage for having to do that. But you have to do the mechanics as well. So really, this boss is all about getting through very specific timings. You're just going to do as much damage as you can, more or less, to the boss, which is where it may be useful to iterate into more of a single target focus rather than spamming the AOE. But certainly, if you have this fight comfortably on farm, this is going to be one where you're going to just feel really strong with spamming the heck out of AOE targets and whatnot. So here's going to be another concentrated anima. More targets. People tried to immune them, and I believe we didn't get any on this last one. So again, less damage, but a lot easier push on the boss by doing so. So yeah, there's really not much else to say. It's a very enjoyable fight, certainly for Windwalker, because Windwalker is very strong. So hopefully you found this useful. In terms of karma and diffuse magic, you're just going to be kind of using them regularly. When you get the beam or bottled anima spawns, bombs and stuff like that. There's a lot of things to use those abilities on. Oh geez, jumping up to council. Yeah, so there's a lot of things to use those abilities on, to do so to help your healers out quite a bit. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to check the description below for links to support me through Patreon and PayPal, links to my weak auras and my UI and stuff like that, links to peakofserenity.com and the Monk Discord where you can find out a lot more information. Be sure to check all the other channels, check out the rest of my channel, I should say, all the other videos. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what other things I can do in the future in the comments. And let me know how better I can do with these videos. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, have a good night, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are.